Hi, my name is Tim Stokes, founder of Profit Transformations, and today we're talking about step 4 of the 7 steps to business certainty, planning to achieve your goals. We'll begin today by looking at some facts about business growth. It's actually easier to increase your profits than it is sales or revenue. It actually costs less to increase profits because you're not spending any money on marketing. Profit pays your expenses, not revenue, and also an employee's salary to free up your time. Increasing your revenue doesn't necessarily give you a lot more profit. It might give you 10% if your net profit margin is 10%. Therefore, it's better to focus on increasing your profit because that's what's really paying your expenses, not sales. 10% of that revenue has got to pay your expenses, or that's what's left after paying your expenses. Business planning often doesn't work. It doesn't always increase profits. We'll talk about what you can do instead of that. It can sometimes for some people, but a lot of time it actually doesn't increase businesses' profits. Failing to plan is planning to fail, so let's look at planning. Business planning limitations, well, it's an analytical process, not so much an effective strategizing process. We'll talk about that as we go on. Strategies are poorly chosen with little to no facts involved. They're projections, they're assumptions that these strategies are going to work. There's not a lot of methodology in choosing the strategies. All goals are projections because measuring wasn't typically implemented first to determine KPIs. A lot of time people think P&Ls are great business tools. I kind of think they're okay business tools. They're good for a 6-month analysis, but they're not really that good at determining a lot of things in a business. For example, they don't tell you which employee is working really well. It doesn't tell you which job you made a lot of profit on. You can get very technical with a P&L to try and work that out, but typically P&Ls are not designed to show you that. Some of the accounting systems can, but not so much a profit and loss. Profit and loss statements show the average of all your sales, what profit you make. They don't tell you the highs and the lows. They don't talk about conversion rates. They don't talk about lead generation, how many leads you've generated. All the things that can affect profits they don't really talk about. So they're not a great thing with which to choose your strategies from. And I think they're a pretty average tool to even think about strategies, apart from looking at where your expenses might be going and reducing that. So if we're not measuring before we're choosing our strategies, that's going to be part of it. With goal planning as a process, strategies are typically more lead generation focused for revenue growth and not so much margins. And the plan typically gets put on a shelf at the end of the process, as a lot of business owners have told me when I've asked them that. What did you do with your business plan when you finished it? And very commonly said, I put it on the shelf. Let's talk about what business growth planning is and the very big difference of it. The process is unique and follows these steps. Instead of spending huge amounts of time gathering documents and researching and typing it all up and creating this 30 to 50 page plus document, it's a very different process. First of all, we need to measure. And otherwise you're choosing strategies based on assumptions. So if we measure, we get points of origin of from where we are now and where we want to be, and then we can set some goals from where we are to where we want to be, which is what I think effective goal setting is all about. And by measuring, we can identify opportunities and weaknesses, the two things I want to look at with strategies. An opportunity is an example is a low conversion rate or low net profit margin. A weakness is where your leads are coming from 1 or 2 sources only. So therefore you'll get big fluctuations and you're too dependent on those lead sources. Or it could be you have a major customer that gives you 50% of your work. And businesses fail, so you can lose half your sales as a result of another business that might have issues. So these are some things out of the lot of things that I look at. These are just a couple of the ones that I'm looking at under the headings of opportunities and weaknesses from measuring. I want to focus on profit margin increase opportunities from the business growth planning exercise and looking at the numbers. Margins first, then growth second. Choose the best strategy types. In the business growth planning process, we want to look at the types of strategies before we get specific about the strategy, the action if you like. So the type of strategy is something like lead generation, and there are hundreds of ways to increase leads in a business. So they're more specific strategies as against a type of strategy. Team building, again, has dozens and dozens of strategies. Recruitment has the same, as do conversion rates. So these are the types of strategies that we want to identify as the best based on our measuring. So our measuring says, I need this sort of a strategy because look what's happening. I've got a poor performing employee on jobs. I can see that they're taking too long on it. I need to run a recruitment strategy to replace this person because my numbers say that, and that will increase my profit margin as a result. So that's where the measuring is, where if you don't measure these certain things, you can't see this. Therefore, your strategy choice and the type of strategy you're choosing won't be a good match to what your business needs. Research, learn about the strategy type. So let's say we choose conversion rate. Then we need to look at all the strategies under that type of strategies to choose which strategies they're available to us. So under the heading of conversion rate, there's incoming phone call scripts, or systems, there's face-to-face sales systems, there's guarantees, there's USPs, there's offers, there's learning disc profiles, there's mastering rapport building, body language techniques. There's dozens and dozens of strategies that I recommend to business owners under that heading. Identify all available strategies of all the types. So once we've said, well, this is a type of strategy that is a great strategy, we need systems or job descriptions under the heading of systems. That might come out under the heading of we need to implement systems, so therefore we need to look at job descriptions because people aren't clear on what their job is. We can't hold them accountable. So that's an example where you're looking at strategies under the heading of a type, but the first thing is you need to look at the type of strategies, not get too specific too quick. Keep it at a broad level initially. Then once we've identified all the types of strategies, then we'll look at the strategies under those headings. Then we prioritize those strategies into a business growth plan. And it's obviously the best strategies that will make the biggest difference to the net profit margin the fastest. That's the strategies we're going to look at implementing first. So we want to just pick about one strategy per month, and that's all I ever do in a business growth plan. And I've been through that exercise 300 plus times with business owners who have paid me to just sit down and just develop this business growth plan with them. And I always work on a strategy type first, and unless they've measured, I'm guessing. I'm always guessing what strategies they need unless they've measured. So I found that in the 7 steps to business certainty, that formula, it's a formula because I don't change the order of implementation. If I don't measure, I'm assuming what strategies a business needs, which is step 4. So step 4 has to come before step 3 as a result. There are 2 sides to business growth. There's analyzing, which is looking at the figures that you've measured and then strategizing as a result of that. Poor analysis means strategy choice will be poor, as I just mentioned. The choice of strategy type determines success. The type determines success. You might say, I want to write an ad and I think the ad's going to be fantastic. It's going to get me a lot of leads. And I'll say, what's your net profit margin? Well, not very high. Well, why are you thinking about lead generation? Well, I need more money. That's right. That's why you need to be thinking about net profit margin strategies. So let's look at that. So the type of strategy determines the rate of progress. If you want to double your profits in a month, then lead generation won't do it for you. In fact, I guarantee it's almost impossible, because if you double the leads, you double the customers, you double the sales, you double the number of employees needed to do that work, and you can't do that in a month. Or if you can, you must be a fairly small business, because if you're running 10 employees, you can't get 10 more employees in a month to keep up with the workload. So that's where the strategy type determines your success. And because I'm profit orientated, not turnover or revenue or customers, then the strategy type that I look at is what creates these incredible improvements really rapidly, as you can see from some of the video testimonials. So the type determines the success. Also, poorly executed strategies lead to poor results. So a lot of business owners write their own ads, for example, yet they've never read a book, they've never been to a workshop, they've never had a mentor, and they assume that they can write the ads, and then they wonder why they fail. And advertising is the most indulged exercise for business owners, that they do it themselves, and it's also the least effective strategy as well. So people haven't spent tens of thousands of dollars learning from mentors and reading hundreds of books from authors all over the world, and then they wonder why they fail. It's just like anything you do, you're not going to do it well. So we need to do a lot of research, maybe read books, get mentors, all that sort of thing to learn how to execute a strategy effectively, and that's all part of our business growth strategizing. I like to set goals in businesses. If we're going to set a goal, I don't just imagine that we can grow at 50%. I want to look at the opportunity size. So for example, if the conversion rate is 30%, I know from experience that getting it to 45 is very achievable, and to do it in 1 month, probably, maybe it might take up to 3 months, but that's what experience with businesses has shown me. With quality strategies and wisdom, you can actually do that sort of a growth. Now, it's a 50% increase in revenue and profit, by the way. It's not 15. A lot of businesses don't get that it's a multiplication thing. What have you got to multiply 30% by to get to 45? And the answer is 1.5. So 150%, which is half of 30 gets you to 45. So people in business don't quite get how powerful that is. If your net profit margin is 5%, then I'd like to set a goal with the business to get it to 10%, without freaking them out too much, because I'd like to get it to 15, but let's say that we only want to get it to 10, and you'll get to that from one price rise of 6%. A 6% will increase your net profit margin from 5 to 10%. If your net profit margin is 10%, you put a 6% price rise, it'll jump to 15. Now, you may need to trust me a little bit on the math. I'm not going to go in and prove to you that that's the case. I can. I do that in the W Certainty Workshop series because I have a spreadsheet that does it all mathematically to prove what the difference is. If your price goes up by this and your net margin was this, then it goes to that. What I also can tell you that is if your net profit margin was 5% and you increase your prices 10%, your net profit margin will go to 14%. Now, when I built this spreadsheet, I found the formula outcomes hard to believe myself. I had to check them a few times and then even run it by a couple of people I know, a couple of accountants that are clients and friends, just to check that it was actually accurate. I'm looking at going, nah, surely not. You can't almost triple your profits by putting your price up 10% when it's 5% net margin. That can't be right. I believed, because a lot of people are taught this around the world, that a 10% increase in your price is a 10% increase in profit. That's what I believe, but it's actually complete fallacy. It's not right at all. This is the fact. So without me needing to prove it right here and now, this is it. So think about what your net profit margin is and what that 6 or 10% increase in prices can do. Retailers, stop using the word discount. It's the worst word you can use in marketing. It hurts future sales, and the customers are not loyal that come and buy from you, because we get into this buying frenzy mode when we see the word, oh, discount, oh, let's go and buy something because I can afford it if it's 20 to 50% off. You don't care about the business really supplying it. You just want the discount. It's a red flag to people. It just attracts people. They go and buy, and then they wait for the next discount from another store, and then the next discount from another store. That's what they do. So it looks like you're making money, but you're actually losing net profit when you discount because of the lack of loyalty from people. You can do a lot of different sales in retail. You can do stock take clearance sales or clearance sales. Buy one, get one free, buy this, get half off that, 3 for the price of 1. But the word itself, discount, you don't want to do the 20 to 50% off. It's very, very poor. So these strategies, the increasing conversion rates, I set goals from the size of the opportunity, and I wouldn't just go from 30 to 45%. If I was working with a client or they're in our training, I'd be saying you should be going for more than 45, but that's probably a good start, depending on how committed you are to learning the strategies, or if you want some mentoring or training on that, depending on your commitment as to how much you can increase these conversion rates. It's just about application of knowledge, and wisdom will improve any number, depending on how smart you are and how much research you do. Strategy types. Let's talk about the 21 strategy types. Here I just want to share with you 7, but I've identified all the different ways to grow a business, and they all come under a heading of 21 different types. So here's just 7 of these. Now, you may know of these, but knowing of them and using them are 2 completely different things. Business owners know they should work on their business, but they typically don't allocate time to work on the business. So knowing and doing are worlds apart. So I want you to think about, am I actually using all of these 7? And that's the most important question here. So the first one, increase conversion rates. That's an obvious one. That's a type of strategy. Increase how much people spend on average. Get customers to come back and buy again. Reduce your expenses and cost of sales. Increase team members' productivity. Improve efficiency and systems with technology. Increase the leads. Now, under these 7, there might be 200 to 500 strategies that I could generate if I wanted to list them all. I do have a lot of the ones listed that I do recommend, but There are so many under the heading of lead generation. There's probably a couple of hundred just under that heading alone that are scary how many there are with the internet these days. But these are the types of strategies. I'm not concerned with what strategies we're going to use under the type. It's more important about, can you use all of these? Now, most businesses can be using all 7 of these all the time or on a regular basis. And that's what it's really about. You need to identify the different types of strategies that you can use. Which ones can you focus on more is the question. Don't get caught up in the details right now. It's planning, it's not execution, it's not implementing. It's just purely understanding the planning process of identifying opportunities and which type of strategy you can use. Alright, examples of effective strategies. Here's a really simple one. Take the word we off your website and turn it into point of view. So in other words, instead of saying we do this, or we say you'll be pleased to know, or ABC code gives you blah blah blah, but don't use the word we. It sounds like you and one friend, you and a mate is what you're talking about. So you do you'll get, you'll enjoy, you'll love, you'll be pleased to know. Turn it into point of view and stop weeing all over your website. It's something that's one of the biggest mistakes I see with all websites. They typically have we all over it. We, and the first word on the website, you go to the home page and the first word says we. It's really poor marketing. It's like walking up to a person and say, my life story is this and I did this and I. If you said that to a potential customer, they'd walk away and just disappear. You can't talk about yourself, but that's what people do on their website. All they do is talk about themselves or their business. They're very self-focused, and that just repels people. People really don't care too much about that. So change that wording. That's a simple strategy. I love giving people really simple, because simple is so easy to do. So that's an example. Another one is stop using the word speaking. So instead of answering the phone, ABC code, this is name speaking, don't say the word speaking. You'll find that your conversion rates can jump 10% just by changing that. The one that I recommend you use is thanks for calling ABC, this is first name. That's it. So thanks for calling Profit Transformations, this is Tim. And use it in a melodious way like I just did. Don't say the word speaking and watch the effect. Hundreds of business owners have told me the subtle but significant difference it makes just by using that greeting. Don't use the word help on the phone, and don't even use it face-to-face in retail. Don't ever say how can I help you at the end. Just use exactly what I said, because the word help is poorly utilized by people that don't feel like the recipient doesn't feel like you really want to help them when you say it sometimes, especially in retail. So don't say hi, how can I help you? In retail, say hi, have you been into our store before? Or hi, what brings you in today? Don't use a question where they can say no thanks. That's the most important thing. I've had retailers jump their monthly sales 17% instantly by changing hi can I help you to hi have you been into our showroom before? Did it for a tile shop. And he was frustrated he couldn't get into conversation with people. I said, well, that's because you've kind of dismissed him with hi can I help you. That's a simple example, but these are some simple strategies that simple works brilliantly. And I like the concept, let's make it simple, keep it simple, stupid. So the KISS principle. Try these and see what it does. This subject here, I could go into it and spend, I have one-day workshops on this. DISC profiles, you may be familiar with it. It's the most common on subject that I've taught business owners in all of the workshops and all the one-on-one training I've done for 17 years. They all say it's the most beneficial. I've had people triple their sales in a month by teaching them how to identify DISC profiles of potential customers on the phone and then stop annoying them with their own profile and build rapport with them. So your profile is kind of annoying for the other 3 profiles, which is kind of like 75% of the population if you don't understand this. So that's something to think about. Invest in sales training. Sales training is the most rapid way to increase your sales there is. The sales training I do, I call it effortless selling. Selling with integrity. It's so easy to do. There's no pressure. In fact, it's a complete opposite. You don't ever pressure anyone ever. And it's based on rapport. People will buy from people they like and or relate to. If you're not relating to them, you'll find that you're annoying them and you don't know, or you're creating that awkwardness in the sales environment, or that tension. That's because you haven't been trained in sales. So that's an example of a super effective strategy. Call people 3 days after they buy or pay you. If they have spent money with you, make a note, get their phone and ring them 3 days later. They'll be amazed, and your referrals will boost immeasurably just by doing this. The other one is ask for referrals. Don't just hope that you're going to get them. Ask for referrals and watch what happens when you ask. If you've been happy with our service. Now, if you combine this with a 3 day later phone call, how you going? Just sort of touch base with you, see how you're going with your purchase that you bought from us the other day. Just a follow-up courtesy follow-up call. Oh yes, everything's good, thank you. Okay, is there any questions that you have about it at all, or everything working great? No, it's all fine. It's great, thanks. Good. Look, I don't know if you know anyone else. If you've got any friends that you think might be interested in buying from us or talking to us, if just pause. If they say, oh no, I'll keep you in mind. Good. Look, thank you very much. Appreciate that. That's how the conversation goes. Very, very simple to do. Nearly no one in business does these last 2 points here. Very simple things. Profit mindset strategies. The way that you think, your whole mindset needs to be profit orientated, not growth or revenue or sales or lead generation orientated. So let me give you some examples. You want to aim to be too busy in business. That is a great aim to have, where you're not coping with the amount of customers that you get. And a best way to do that, which I like to focus on the most, is conversion rate strategies and getting too many customers. And that's my intention with a lot of business owners, because the next thing you do, well, most business owners would say, I'm so busy, I need to hire more people. I don't recommend that. I recommend instead you raise your prices. If you're a service or manufacturing business, this is what you do. Retail, you're stuck with recommended retail. You can't do this, obviously, but service and manufacturing, it's an absolute must if your net profit margin isn't higher than 15%. This is what I recommend you do. So this is what you do. Now, this is a profit strategy, and it's virtually risk-free because you've got too many customers. You have two choices. You need to hire more people, and customers will complain if you take too long to do the outcome of the sale to provide from that. So you got two choices, or three. You could keep annoying customers because you can't handle the work, or you hire a person, or you raise your prices enough to scare the people off. And if you raise your prices, let's say you get 20% too many customers, therefore you need to hire another person. Therefore, you could either hire the person or just raise your prices to scare off those 20% of people. And you'll find that when you do that, you'll just make more profit, and you may not even lose any customers. Therefore, it's a pretty good strategy, because losing 20% of your customers from a 10% price rise probably won't even happen. I'll be very shocked if you lose 20% of your customers from a 10% price rise. But that's an example. Now, I've proven this with hundreds and hundreds of businesses in so many different industries, in service and manufacturing, for my 17 years in this profession at this point. So I'm not speaking fabrication, I'm speaking pure experience here, that this is what you can do. And I keep doing these two strategies until net margins hit 15 to even 20%. And then after that, then we might look at hiring more employees if we're getting too many customers. But until that net margin gets to 15%, if you're at a 700k turnover business, I'm questioning why you would hire more people. And yes, I know you can get busier. There's lots of different reasons why, but I question it still to why you won't focus on getting it to that level by these first two strategies. Yes, there could be 5 or 10 reasons why you think it's more important. Net margin is the most important thing in a business. It is the sustainable thing, puts money in the bank account to afford employees to free up your time without just hiring more employees and running a busyness. Never work overtime. It's another mindset strategy. Overtime means that you're going beyond your 40-45 hours a week typically, and if you are, you start to lose your objectivity in your business, and you get too micro orientated, and you don't see the big picture things that are happening that you need to focus on. Plus, if depending on which country you're in Australia, if you have people working overtime, your hourly rate just went up 50%. If your hourly rate went up 50% and you haven't charged that 50% higher add-on cost to the sale price, when you're doing that specific overtime work, you are making a massive loss. You are not making profit because your cost of sale just went up massively from running that overtime rate. So that's something that you can think about. A lot of businesses have failed because they've been through their busiest time where they lost a whole lot of money because they were paying overtime rates at their busiest time. It's not uncommon, so that's something to think about as well. But these are all profit mindset strategies I want to share with you, where these strategies increase margins, and as we talked about video 3, margins are the most important thing you need to get up. Get it up to 15 or 20 or 25%, and you have so much profit in the bank that you can afford to do pretty much anything you want to do because of the power you have that you can use that cash, that capital. Alright, I want to take you through growing businesses by numbers, profiting by the numbers. Measuring one promotion. If we're just starting with some numbers in a business, let's imagine we're spending $200 a week. So $200 a week on a promotion. It could be a Google AdWords or Facebook or something like that to generate 10 leads in total, 10 inquiries with which we're converting 2 of those into customers, paying customers who are spending on average $1,000. Therefore, we're making $2,000 here, and our conversion rate is 2 out of 10 or 20%. The other figure you want to look at down here is the net profit is $40, and that's based on a 12% net profit margin. But I like to say the promotion has to come out of the profit from the sales. So that's after that $200 promotion. So the figures would have been $240. You can kind of do the math if you're good at math. So 12% of the $2,000 is the sales income, is the net margin, and that's going to give us our $240. Take off the $200 for the promotion. We're making $40 after the promotion, because to me the profit from the sales needs to pay for the promotion. Simple rule of marketing. So that's where we are. Now this is a spreadsheet embedded into PowerPoint. I'm not going to go into the fact that this is a spreadsheet embedded into PowerPoint, but that's just what it is, and it's just all got formulas in here. All the colored boxes multiply to give us the numbers based on the variables. Now I want to show you how I grow businesses based on looking at numbers. This is business growth planning following measuring. First thing is I want to look at is using conversion rate strategies, offers, guarantees, selling systems, and work on 8 persuasion principles. These are some of the strategies under the heading of conversion rate that I want to apply. So the type of strategy here is conversion rate, and under that I could bring out dozens of strategies, but these are some of them. Make an offer to get people to buy, guarantee something increases conversion rate, reassures people, takes the risk out. Using sales training systems, incoming phone call, disproof, all that sort of thing, persuasion principles, etc. If we do these sort of things, you probably only need to do one of these really, really effectively, but we can easily increase the conversion rate to 30% here. And if you notice what happens, to go from 20 to 30%, our sales have jumped from 2,000 to 3,000, a 50% increase, because that's the increase from 20 to 30% is a 50% increase. Therefore, we get 3 customers, not 2, because 3 out of 10, and 3 at our average dollar sale of 1,000 to 3,000. Our promotion costs has come out, and we're making $160 in net profit. So that's where we are after this strategy. So let's keep going on with the next strategy to see what happens. Next, we are going to work on lead generation. Normally I don't want to, but for the sake of the example, let's just do a little bit of that. We're not going to do something new as a lead generation strategy. We're just going to improve. I'm a really big fan of improve anything that's working. So improving conversion rates, improving lead generation. There's no risk in that, so not risking any money that we don't have a lot of in a business if we've got a low net margin. So next, we professionalize it. We use power words. We take the we out of it, as we talked about, put the word you in it, use the word free, things like that. Basic copywriting principles, and that can get a 20 to 800% increase in responses. The biggest result I've ever had was from a business that was spending $800 on an ad that was running every single week, and by redesigning it, leaving exactly the same media, exactly the same size, just changing the contents, instant response, 800% increase instantly. So I know that's achievable, so that's just something you might want to think about for your own marketing design. But using just a 20% increase, we've got 12 leads, we had 10, that's our 20% increase. Multiply that by our conversion rate, we're at 3.6 sales, $3,600, and our net profit is $232 after our $200 promotion. So let's now look at the next one. The next one I want to look at is the add-on sell strategy type. where we can ask people to consider something else. Would you like this with that? Would you like that? McDonald's do it. They asked, would you like fries? When they introduced that, it made them $24 million per week from one question asked by a teenager that took all of about 3 seconds. So that $24 million a week is a pretty significant jump for one question. So my question to you is, are you asking people that question? Are you asking questions like, have you considered this because it goes well with that? Or do you know about this because that would complement what it is that you're considering? Questions like that. Now in this example, it's not hard to get a 10% increase. By 10%, we've increased our average dollar sale from 1,000 to 1,100. Other things being the same, we multiply it by through, we're up to 4,950, profits 394. Are you getting fascinated by what I'm showing you here? Are you finding this interesting or stimulating or thought-provoking? I hope you are, but we haven't stopped yet. The next thing I'm going to suggest is that we do a price rise. Now, as I've said in the previous video, if we want to increase conversion rate, we need to increase employees, so therefore we're taking away the risk of a price rise. So I like to do conversion rate before I do price rise because it takes that risk element out. We'll go back to where we were potentially. So let's say we put the price up by 10%. Well, 98% of all my clients who did this lost zero profit. It's a pretty high probability success rate that it's not going to hurt your business as well if you're in service or manufacturing. So average dollar sale increases 10%. I've assumed from my experience that conversion rates don't drop, so therefore you didn't lose sales. So I'm going to use my historical evidence to say that's what it is. What happens though, the most important thing is the net profit margin was 12 and it just jumped to 20 because that's the effect of a 10% price rise. Yes, our average dollar sale went up 10%, but that 10% is pure profit. That $110 is pure profit. So that $110 multiplied by 4.5 sales is this profit jump you're seeing in here. And that's what it is. So $889 all from the one promotion. So let's review those results. If you remember, we started with a profit of only $40 after the promotion cost. It's now jumped to $889 without that extra promotion cost being included. So we've gone up about $850. Now, this doesn't seem much, but let's put this into, if this is weekly as we talked about, $200 a week is probably a weekly budget for Google AdWords, something like that. That $850 a week is like $40,000 increase in net profit. That's a significant amount of money. If I said to you, would you like a $40,000 a year pay rise? What would your answer be? What if we did 3, 4, or 5 of these same strategies where we tweaked the numbers, or we just introduced 3 or 4 or 5 more of these strategies and just ramped it up a bit more? What if we were doing that? What are we going to do to the profits? Sales income in this example went from $2,000 to $5,445. So we've solved a bit of the sales problem if the turnover is a bit low, but more importantly, we probably need to hire a bunch of people if we have. We've doubled the number of employees. Well, maybe not, because that's just one promotion, but if this was the whole business, then yeah, we would have doubled the number of employees. Price rises create massive increases in profits, as you probably saw. It's the least utilized and effective strategy there is in the world of business. Conservative KPI increases we used. I didn't go for conversion rates tripling. I didn't go for price rises of 30%. I didn't go for lead generation increase of 50 to 200 or 500%. I used very low conservative increases in all of them, yet look at the spectacular outcome we're having from just one promotion. So this is why improving on multiple numbers is the key to huge profit increases, using various strategy types as I did there, not just lead generation. So your mission as a result of this video is I want you to focus more on measuring. Is there anything you aren't measuring from video 3? Can you raise your prices? I'd suggest measuring your conversion rates first to see if you lose sales. And if you don't, what has that told you? Maybe you could have raised them more, or maybe you need to again. Identify which strategy types you can use out of those 7 that I talked about, and think about other types of strategies like systems, or what else could you look at? I won't go into the details, and I think you've got enough to learn here already. Go and use the relevant ones from the effective strategies list too. Think about some of those ones. Sales training is one of the best investments. Sales training for my clients. I've tripled the sales of a business in a month for numerous clients over the years just from one day of training. It's about the best investment you can have. If you want some professional training, the workshop doesn't cost much. It's in the order of hundreds of dollars. It's way under $1,000, so therefore for such a small investment you can have a massive increase in your sales, and tripling your sales or increasing in 20 to 50%. If you put a dollar value on a 20% increase in your turnover, even if it was that lower in investment or return on investment, as far as growth, that would probably be a well worthwhile investment. So think about that. These are the things I'd like you to think about. I recommend you go over the video as I have with the other ones. Go over the video again. If you're starting to see that this stuff is really powerful, I'm actually giving you basic level stuff here, and this is a short video. Whereas our Business Certainty Workshop series, we're spending 3 hours or so on going through all this step by step. You're getting workbooks to read. You're not left to trying to figure out how to do all this yourself. The training gives you all that. Plus, I'm giving you the spreadsheets. I'm giving you my one-on-one time with the training, so you get to talk one-on-one to a trainer that is looking at your figures and giving you some help and assistance, and you're emailing through spreadsheets and all that. Very, very different. So if you're finding this a little bit challenging, there is a fair bit of data I'm covering here, but it's not a two-way training exercise. It's really about giving you an exposure to some good stuff and helping you with the level that you're at. And if you can apply this and get a profit increase, fantastic. If you want more, then the Business Certainty Workshop series is like this on steroids. It's a whole new level of thinking. So what's next? Step 5. Systems for profit growth. Have a great day. Go over the video again tomorrow, and I'll talk to you again soon.